Hello and welcome to Behind the Lines. I'm Diane Dayton. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things. It's the Fulton Theatre and the new season that's coming up 24-25 with one of my favorite people, Mark Robin. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you for having us.
It's so good to have you here. You are the executive artistic producer.
I am.
And you get paid to play, you said, right?
I do. I put on plays. I mean, come on, what could be better than that?
Absolutely. How long have you been there? We were talking about this.
I'm starting next year. I'm starting my 18th season as artistic director and my 9th season as producer.
Wow. Well, you have a magnificent season coming up. So we're going to address and tease everybody with this. But the process in putting this together is what?
Hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
One of the hardest jobs, I think, of any artistic director is actually choosing what we're going to do. Because that's basically choosing your fall line if it's a fashion or what your product is.
Right.
And then trying to find that mix of what you want your audiences to see with what your audiences are telling you they want to see. It's always a fun dance. And next season is a season that we're so excited about because for the first time in years, there's a lot of new titles. Partly because of the pandemic and partly because of national tours, we haven't actually been able to get our hands on titles that haven't necessarily been seen here before.
Right.
You know, like you can see, say Sound of Music, right? Sound of Music, you've probably seen 14 times in your life. There's a lot of new product that came up right before the pandemic that we thought, oh, well, those will be some of the new titles that will come onto our stage.
Right.
But then the world changed. So we're really excited that next year we have a lot of premieres and new titles. And the biggest thing about our main stage series next year is not one of them have actually appeared on our stage in a professional setting. One of them was done like in the early 90s, but long before we were a, quote, professional theater. So it's a whole series of premieres.
Wow. And what you and I were talking about before we came on camera, it's talking about going into the theater and leaving the world out and behind.
Right. Gosh, theater can be so many different things. And, we have different versions of series, like the Groff series is designed for you to come upstairs and not necessarily have to go in to be entertained or to leave your troubles outside. Actually, much of the time it's reflecting what's going on in the world, etc. But our main stage, next year especially, is designed to leave all of the conversations that are not theatrical, that perhaps are life conversations, maybe outside. Come into the theater and be, wrapped up in the joy and in the entertainment and in the fantasy or in the magic, like what's happening with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and just leave your troubles outside.
Yeah.
Let us entertain you.
Yes. Well, let's talk about every aspect that's going on. Let's start with the main stage. The first show out of the block. Oh, my.
Yeah, we have been trying to get this since it came out on Broadway. It's the epitome of that feel-good, every song, the catalog, but you don't know the story. It's the Carole King story. And I didn't even know a lot of the backstory to these songs. I just grew up with them. And kind of like Mamma Mia, when you see the show, you feel like you're a part of it. The music is already singing, you're singing along, and then you're dancing at the end of the show, and you're on your feet and you're rocking, and you didn't even realize you stood up dancing.
Absolutely.
It's so much fun.
It is so much fun. I'm going to give dates so people can start to write this down if you're watching. September 20th through October 20th, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So the next one up after that is,
the most exciting, really the most exciting, because we never dreamed, especially, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, that we would be given the premier rights for the Pennsylvania premier professional rights to do Disney's Frozen. It's being very selective in the way in which they're handing out the contracts for this first run. So next year is its premiere. It's actually, I think, the first production, the first license just opened last week in Utah at the Tuacahn Theater in Utah. So this year is the first time it's being released, and we are one of like 8 or 9 contracts for the whole year. So we feel so blessed and so lucky and, oh my gosh, excited, to have something like Frozen on our stage for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's off the charts, and we've been working on the design for it now for months, and we are kind of over the moon about it.
Yeah, well, you talk about magical.
Yeah.
That's so
and talk
perfect.
about bringing in a new generation, to appreciate storytelling in a theater and hopefully enchanting them and letting them grow up to be that sort of next generation of theater goers. It's quite it's thrilling. We're like palpably excited about it.
I'm excited too. The dates on that are November 15th through December 29th. Perfect timing. After that, wow.
So after that, this is the title I referenced earlier. It has been since the early 90s, when the theater was more of a community-based operation, that they did Jesus Christ Superstar. And I've tried 5 different times to get the rights to do it in my tenure here. And each time something has happened, either another theater has gotten the rights to it, the national tour was coming through, and now even again, we couldn't announce this title until May because there was a national tour that played Hershey.
Oh, wow.
But we got it. We're so excited. It's been one of the #1 requested titles from our audiences. Hey, you've done Sunset Boulevard. You've done, all of these things. Why haven't you done this Andrew Lloyd Webber, Tim Rice classic?
Yeah.
And we're like, well, now we can. So we are going to do Jesus Christ Superstar, and again, so excited about it.
That is amazing. And those dates are February 14th. This is great timing on all this too, through March 9th.
Right.
Yeah, excellent. After that,
Anastasia.
Yeah.
Anastasia. So Anastasia's one of those titles that when I was a kid, the Ingrid Bergman film of Anastasia was one of my mother's favorites, may she rest in peace. And we used to watch that all the time whenever it came on. And I thought the story was the most magical thing and the most incredible thing, because I thought, wow, was she really this woman or wasn't she? And it wasn't until very recently that more information came out. But then a musical movie, animated, was done through, I think it was DreamWorks, and it became this global sensation again as an animated film. What's important for people to know is that it's not a kid show. Just because it was an animated film and there's great Alan Menken score, it's not Alan Menken. It's not. Oh my gosh, it's Ragtime. It's Flaherty and Ahrens.
Okay.
Shame on me. Score, astonishing music. It really is it is based on the story of this woman's life, even though it had an animated element to it. The stage version, which was the Broadway production, which is what we're doing, really is a full throttle musical that is for everybody. Because I've had some people say, oh, it's a kid show. No. It's based on the true story of whether this woman really was, in fact, the lost heiress.
Yeah.
To this throne.
Yeah, I love how diverse all this is. This is just great. So those dates are April 11th through May 11th, and the next thing, I guess we'll just say meow.
Right, so Cats to Close, that's a title we've been trying for almost 11 years to get. Again, just like Jesus Christ Superstar, maybe it's Andrew Lloyd Webber, that we evade it because of it's always being produced, and they did a Broadway revival. Quite actually, there's another revival that's happening in New York, I think later this summer, that's got a new take on it. Regardless, we got it. Cats is a very personal show for me. It's a show that actually I was given the unbelievable honor to have the first production to direct and choreograph when the original New York production was closing. The Marriott Lincolnshire in Chicago got the first rights, and they asked me to direct and choreograph it. So to finally be able to bring that version, which is very different than the original, the whole thing takes place in an abandoned amusement park. And to bring that to life on the Fulton stage is, I'm like, can't wait.
Oh, that's so exciting. So exciting. Let's tell everybody some of the benefits that they can get, like with, being a seasoned subscriber and how to get involved with the theater.
Sure. Well, subscription, if you're looking at something from a cost perspective, a subscriber is absolutely the best cost. Yeah. Single tickets, depending upon when you buy them, can be up to 60 or 65% higher than what your ticket would be if you bought a subscription. A subscription, you're guaranteed that ticket, you're guaranteed a seat. Oftentimes our shows sell out, which means you haven't missed it. There's subscriber benefits when it comes to the way in which you can exchange your tickets. There's no charges for that. There's discounts on things that we sell in the theater itself. You have first rights to almost everything. There's behind the scenes things that you get invited to. I mean, it really is kind of this fun sort of theater club, that at its core guarantees that you will have a seat at the absolute lowest price possible. Group sales are not lower than that. Any discounts that happen through the year, you are guaranteed the lowest price ticket, which in its base is 46% or 48% of what a normal single ticket would be.
Okay. Wow, it's becoming a part of the family, isn't it?
Right. Well, it's also, you're investing in a commitment, to come to the main stage at least 5 times a year.
Right.
So you and your family or whoever that you're coming with, you're making a commitment to be a part of the artistic community, and the theater is there to create community.
Yeah.
Especially in nonprofit theater. the Fulton isn't there to make money. The Fulton is there to make entertainment.
Yeah.
And the entertainment is to bring our community in so that we're all gathering for that one-time experience that happens on that show where anything could happen at that performance that can only happen one time. And then the next day, the show may happen again, but it's not going to happen the same way. And you're a part of that one night.
Yeah.
And that's what's thrilling about live theater, any live arts. Because it happens for you one time.
Right, and you're in that moment together.
Right.
So if you want more information, we go to thefulton.org, is that correct? And we'll find everything and anything you need to know.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. We're going to take a brief pause, and we come back, we're going to talk about the other shows going on at the Fulton. You don't want to miss that. You're watching Lancaster Community TV, LCTV 66. Welcome back to Behind the Lines. We're talking about the 24-25 new series at the Fulton Theatre. So now we're going to talk about studio series. We're going to talk about the family series. We're with Mark Robin. So let's start with the studio series.
Sure.
All right. So first up with that is, I guess, where would we be with that? Death Trap, is that correct?
Death Trap, sure. So the Upstairs series, our studio series, which is the Ellen Arnold Groff series in the Tell Studio Theater, is designed to not focus so much, as I said earlier, on the sort of entertainment value, the big song and dance things, though we do musicals up there.
Okay.
It's a very intimate space. It's 99 seats. It's a theatrical experience. It's different than sitting in the Fulton where you're sort of, backing away. And what we have found in the last few years is that Lancaster loves a good murder mystery. They love to figure it out, and they love to, try to figure out how that goes. And in that space, you're actually part of it. So one of the coolest murder mysteries of all time, one of the most successful, is Death Trap.
Okay.
And in this configuration, the audience is actually going to be in the room, like in the set, so that when the doors close, much like we did Veronica's Room years ago, you will physically be in the room where it happens.
Wow.
So it should be really exciting and thrilling and kind of perfect for the Halloween season.
Oh, it sounds good. So the dates, just so we have, October 4th through October 27th. Then next up we have Whose Holiday?
Which most people will be like, who's what? What is that?
Yeah.
It's really awesome. It is an adult show.
Okay.
1,000% an adult show for Christmas.
All right.
Because we're doing Frozen downstairs.
Sure.
So upstairs we're doing the Who's Holiday, which is the story of little Cindy Lou Who from The Grinch That Stole Christmas. Okay. And what happened to her and how is she turned into an adult as she lives in a trailer park in Whoville, as she talks about how that night has affected her.
Okay.
It's very adult. It is very, very funny. It is an outrageous comedy.
Okay.
But it's very irreverent, and you can imagine.
All right. Well, I'm sure that's enticing to a lot of people as well, and you've given the disclaimers as needed, right?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
It was like when we did Equus this year. We were like, hey, there's nudity. Just so you know, there's nudity.
Right.
So people know, right?
Okay. So the dates for this are December 6th through December 29th. And then what do we have coming up in February and March?
So The Irish and How They Got That Way is the most successful title we've ever had up there. And about 7 years before that, we did it on the main stage. And when we did it on the main stage, people were like, you must bring it back. You must bring it back.
Wow, okay.
So we did The Irish. We extended it twice. When we did it, it'll be like 5 or 6 years ago. And to this day, people are like, when are you bringing it back? So it's like, okay, let's bring it back. We turned the studio into an actual working Irish bar.
Wow.
And it's the history of the Irish, which sounds a little bland, but it's not.
Okay.
It's so beautiful, so reverent. And sometimes irreverent, but it's a really astonishing experience that you're not expecting. You're laughing 1 minute, you're silent. There's a whole section where they talk about the potato famine, where you can hear people breathing in the room. Wow. And then 2 seconds later, you are laughing to the point where you're going to fall out of your chair. And Frank McCourt, who wrote Angela's Ashes, Pulitzer Prize-winning author, he wrote this play, this story, and they're all structured around very famous Irish, songs like Danny Boy and, Give My Regards to Broadway for George M. Cohan. And it's one of the most magnificent combinations of play, musical, history, and joy, and testament to a culture. It's thrilling. And we're really excited to say that two of the cast members that were in our production 7 years ago, Karis Leos and Curtio Clark, have signed on to come back, and they're just, there's no words to describe them. They're amazing.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the dates to make sure you get that is February 7th through March 16th. And
which is closing the day before St. Patrick's Day, because it's on a Monday.
Which is really interesting, and that's great. So then the other one, Forever Plaid.
Right. So Forever Plaid is a play that's been around for a while. It's a musical. It's one of the best scores ever.
Okay.
It's, all these 1940s, late 40s, 50s hits, barbershop harmony, 4-part, 4 men, in this sort of a fictional world of these 4 guys coming back to play the concert they could never play. And people have said, hey, Forever Plaid, that doesn't sound like your typical Groff show. And I'm quick to point out that, we did Sheer Madness 2 years ago, which was one of the best attended shows ever, which was joyous and fun and certainly not about anything heavy. That theater doesn't always have to be heavy to be reflective. And Forever Plaid is one of those shows that brings so much joy and yet also so much nostalgia. So I wanted to do something to end the season that was joyous, because Irish really does sort of get to the heart of some of the harder matters of what that experience has been. And so we're going to close with something really fun and joyous for the summer.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. The dates are April 25th through May 18th. So let's get into the family series, A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, so the family series are designed to bring in the little itty bitties and the parents. It isn't like children's theater. It's theater for young audiences. They're an hour-long musicals, at usually hour to an hour and 5 minutes, designed for kids. We have morning performances that happen for them, and they're told in a way that will hopefully excite a child's imagination. We also have interpreted performances. We have sensory-friendly performances. And for that matter, we have that actually for a lot of our main stage as well. We have hearing-impaired performances. We have audio-described performances. We have pay-what-you-want performances. I mean, there's so many things that I don't think people realize that we do. So there's so many different access points to get people in to experience the arts. But the TYA is designed really to bring in your 4-year-olds, bring in your 5-year-olds to, see the theater. And Christmas Carol is what we're doing for Christmas in conjunction with Frozen. And it's that classic story.
Oh, yeah. That sounds great. The dates on that are November 30th through December 28th. And then moving along, Aladdin.
Aladdin. It is not the Disney. It's a version that was written for us. But it's still the classic story, and all the kids still know the heart of it. And it's magical and beautiful, and especially now with the world that we have on our stage with all of our video capabilities, it should be lovely.
Yeah, and those dates are February 22nd through March 8th, and then wrapping it up, Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, Alice in Wonderland on the Anastasia set.
Wow.
Which will be great.
Yeah, and those dates are April 19th through May 10th.
Yeah. All fun, all joyous, all happy, all hopefully inspiring kids' imaginations.
Yeah. Boy, the theater, and you and I always enjoy talking to you about this because your energy is contagious and your passion comes across in what's being picked out and presented. So I think when we go to theater, we get engaged with our minds, our hearts, and our spirits.
That's what I hope.
Yeah. I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it gives us other things to think about, to look at our own life too, doesn't it?
Sure. We want our audiences to come in and be entertained, but we also want them to come away and take us with them. We want the next day when you go to work to do more than just, go see that show because it was pretty.
Right.
Go see that show because it made me feel is what we're always looking for. Yeah. Even if what the answer is happy. Yeah. We had a preview for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory the other night, and I watched this man come in, and he was obviously coming in because the folks he was with were like, you're coming to the theater with us.
Okay.
And I watched that same man walk out.
Wow.
And he was like, you just
Was he transformed?
Transformed.
Okay.
And he was sort of dancing up the aisle, and he was just going a mile a minute.
Wow.
And he came in sort of in this, oh God, okay. That is the best gift you can give to an artist or an artistic company. Yeah. Because what we're designed to do is make you feel, not just be entertained. You can stay at home and be entertained. watch Succession or anything you want to binge.
Yeah.
The difference is that we're here just for you, and we can transform you live and in person. And when it happens, it's the most joy
It is,
you can
isn't
have
it?
as an artist.
It is. So briefly, one last question I have for you, Mark. The Fulton Theatre has grown, expanded. It's such an experience. In your mind and your heart, what is it that makes the Fulton so unique?
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's not just the Fulton,
Okay.
it's our community. I just had a conversation yesterday about this. I think that the reason why the Fulton has been able to grow is because this community is growing,
Yep.
and because Lancaster and the surrounding communities really appreciate, support, and want arts. It's not an accident that we have Gallery Row and all of the other artistic things. The chefs that are here, which are also artists, the culinary experience that has grown in this community. The Fulton has grown because the community has grown, and we have become special because the audiences make us feel special and have allowed us that growth.
Yeah.
And it's not just us, it's the arts in general. They are incredible. The art scene here is incredible. The diversity of organizations that are creating arts.
Yeah.
We're fortunate because we're right downtown
Yep.
in this magnificent hall. But wow, we are the luckiest to be in Lancaster.
Well, and we are lucky to have you.
You're my friend. Thank you for saying that.
But we're very lucky. So I know people watching this are going to get inspired to come downtown and experience the Fulton and all the other things that we've been talking about that Lancaster has to offer.
Well, we will be lucky if they do, and because they'll shop in their stores and
Yeah.
eat in our restaurants and stay in hotels, and then it's good for everybody.
And the rest of it, we're just going to keep walking like
Keep
this. We're all
exactly
going to
right.
walk like
Right.
on clouds, right?
Right.
Thank you so much for being
Thank you.
here, and I just can't wait for the new season too.
Me too.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us today too. I'm Diane Dayton with Behind the Lines, reminding you to look behind the lines. You might be surprised what you find.